Looks like it's going to be a longer meeting than I thought it would.
Mm-mm. It's 150 outside. Damn.
Been there, done that.
Where's the clock to go? Tonight's invocation will be led by Commissioner Jennett, and the pledge will be led by Commissioner Erickson. Please join us.
Dear Lord, we pray for your assistance with the agenda set before us today. Please give an assurance of what will please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Hot Springs. In your most blessed name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner. If all would join for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Planning Commission meeting for July 14th, 2022 is now called to order. We encourage you to wear masks while indoors and observe the 6-foot social distancing. Ms. Dawn Sweet Dobbs, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Ramick,
Here?
Janet,
Here.
Erickson,
Present.
Stafford,
Here?
Gerke,
Present.
Greenway,
Present.
Lamond,
Here.
Walker,
Here.
and Hobby.
Present, thank you. The hearing room is set up to allow a maximum of 40 people. Please respect that limit and do not add chairs. The lobby and outdoors are area for overflow. This meeting is broadcasted on the big screen in the lobby, and once you have spoken, please exit the room so that others can sit while they wait their turn to speak. When your name is called, please come to the podium. Address your comments to the Planning Commission, not to the audience. Any questions you ask will be answered once everyone who has signed up has spoken. We understand that you have strong feelings in one way or another. Out of courtesy and unless it's your turn to speak, please remain silent. Please refrain from applauding, cheering, booing, or other verbal outbursts. This is a fact-finding hearing. If a previous speaker has stated the points in which you wish to make, you may simply acknowledge that so that the hearing may proceed. There is no need to repeat what has already been said. The applicant will have 5 minutes to speak. Other speakers each will have 3 minutes. Please respect that time limit. If you intend to speak, please sign up at the table in the back of the room. Your name will be called in order of the sign-up sheet. May I have a motion for approval of last month's minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Outstanding. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. However, we do have to make an amend to that as number 2 will move to new business. May I have a motion for approval of the amended agenda for tonight?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, that is an action step, so we are going to have to call the roll on that.
Ramick,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Janet,
Yes.
Gerke,
Aye.
Stafford,
Aye.
Greenway,
Aye.
Lamont,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
and Hobby.
Oh, yes, sorry, I'm in another spot. The first item on tonight's agenda is the amended consent agenda. Items placed in this section are applications in which demonstrate compliance with all applicable city requirements. These items shall not involve discussion by the Planning Commission and/or other public. The consent agenda will be voted on in one motion. However, if any 2 commissioners so desire, the individual items may be discussed and/or voted upon in a separate matter of business. Director Selman, would you read the items on the consent agenda?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. We have one item on the consent agenda as amended. That is item number 1, a request for redevelopment in an existing shopping center building at 428 Broadway Street. As this applicant has met the requirements of the code, the recommendation is for approval. And with the conditions, of which there are 5, it does demonstrate compliance with Hot Springs Code, Section 16422 and 16257, as well as all other applicable City of Hot Springs codes. I will read the conditions into the record. Number 1, all construction and construction activity is to be accomplished in strict accordance with the approved site plan and with all approval conditions and with minimum standards, codes, rules, regulations, and policies as may now or hereafter be required or enacted by the City of Hot Springs, the State of Arkansas, and/or the United States of America. This includes compliance with the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code. And this is whether or not something is submitted for staff review or Planning Commission approval. Number 2, a certificate of occupancy for the structure shall be in hand prior to any use of the property. Number 3, separate permit applications shall be made by the applicant to Hot Springs Engineering Department, and permits shall be in hand for stormwater, drainage, and sidewalks as may be required prior to any work beginning. Number 4, a separate sign permit application, review, and approval shall be required prior to installation of any signs. And number 5, should the parking lot be restriped in the future, 1 additional ADA space shall be designated van accessible. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director. May I have a motion for approval of tonight's amended consent agenda?
Second.
The amended consent agenda is approved. Items number 1.
You need a vote.
Okay. I do apologize. Miss Dawn Sweet Dobbs, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Erickson,
Approve.
Stafford,
Approve.
Gerke,
Approve.
Greenway,
Approve.
Lamond,
Approve.
Walker,
Approve.
Ramick,
Approve.
Janet,
Approve.
and Hobby.
Approved, thank you. The next item on tonight's agenda is the amended new business. There will be an opportunity for the applicant and for the public to provide testimony. Director Selman, will you introduce item number 2?
Thank you. Item number 2, the applicant and property owner, Mr. Randy Whitehead, is requesting preliminary subdivision plat and development plan approval for a new 5-lot, single-family residential subdivision to be known as Hamilton Heights Subdivision. This is located outside Hot Springs city limits, but within the city's adopted planning area boundary. The property has a future land use classification of residential suburban and is not zoned.
Thank you, Director. A motion to approve merely gets the matter on the floor for discussion. A motion to approve and second does not mean that you are necessarily in favor of the particular application.
So moved.
Second.
May I have approval for item number 2?
So moved.
Thank you.
There we go.
Motion, second?
Over here,
Okay.
Bill.
Planning Commissioners, please hold your questions until everyone has presented. Director Selman, will you present the staff report on item number 2?
Yes, thank you. The subject property is located at approximately 155 Lazy Lane. It's 4.72 acres. It's irregular in shape and runs west from Lazy Lane to Lake Hamilton. The property has 65.53 feet of frontage on Lazy Lane, approximately 375 feet of lake frontage, and currently has a 40 by 80 metal building on the site. The subject and all surrounding properties are located in unincorporated Garland County. There is no zoning. Surrounding land uses include single-family residential and land which has not been developed.
Thank you.
Well, I have just a
Okay.
little to add to that, if that's okay. All of the 5 proposed lots meet or exceed the area and width requirements for single-family residential lots located in the planning area as required by Hot Springs Code Section 16471B. The existing metal building is to be located on Lot 5. The plat illustrates 2 common areas located on the north side of the subdivision. They are labeled Common Property Tracts A and B. The required setbacks are regulated by Hot Springs Code. They are front yard 25 feet, side yard 12 feet, and rear yard 12 feet. There will be a new street constructed to provide access to the lots within the development. It will connect to Lazy Lane and run west, approximately 780 feet in length, to the northern side of lot number 4. There'll be a 50-foot right-of-way and constructed to meet city street standards, which is 28 feet of width from back of curb to back of curb. A fire apparatus turnaround will be provided, and a 120-foot radius diameter hammerhead will be included as a part of that street. This has been reviewed and approved by fire officials. A secondary access easement is being proposed along the east side of Lot 4. It is 20 feet in width and 90 feet in length. There will be extension of city water. There's a 6-inch line there and a 2-inch pressure sewer main to serve the lots in the subdivision. This has been reviewed by the Utilities Department, and utility service is found to be adequate to support the development of the 5 proposed lots. 1 fire hydrant will be proposed and to be located on common property tract B. The Piney Fire Protection District Chief, Scott Miser, stated that they have reviewed the plans and everything meets their requirements at this time. And a letter from the Piney Fire Protection District is included in the materials that you have, Commissioners. There was a review by the city's Development Review Committee, and a number of revisions were made to the plan in order to bring it into compliance with the requirements of the codes that apply to this development. So the recommendation, finding is that the preliminary plat and development plans are complete, that the individual elements comply and demonstrate compliance with the code requirements with certain conditions. All 5 of the lots comply with the minimum square foot and setback requirements for single-family residential lots in the city's planning area. The proposed new street complies with the city's street standards, and utility plans also comply with city standards. The recommendation is to approve the preliminary plat and development plan for Hamilton Heights subdivision as submitted with the following conditions, because with those conditions, the submittal does demonstrate compliance with Hot Springs Code, Section 16.4.446. The conditions are as follows. Number 1, all construction and construction activity is to be accomplished in strict accordance with the approved preliminary plat and development plan. These conditions of approval and all applicable technical codes and specifications, including the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, whether or not submitted for staff review or planning commission approval. Number 2, full and continuous compliance with all applicable stormwater permitting and water quality regulations. Number 3, the planning director shall be authorized to sign the preliminary plat and development plans listing these conditions of approval, and work shall not proceed until the preliminary plat has been so executed. Number 4, all common elements in the subdivision shall be privately owned and shall not be the maintenance responsibility of the City of Hot Springs. Number 5, the new street cannot have more than a 10% grade. And number 6, no permits will be issued and the sale of lots shall not occur until a final plat meeting the requirements of Hot Springs Code Section 16.4.44 has been approved by the planning director and filed for record with Garland County Circuit Clerk, and an original copy of the filed plat returned to the planning department office. Number 7, the submitted final plat shall list the minimum building setbacks for single-family residential lots located in the city's adopted planning area. Number 5, the final plat title block should be revised stating this subdivision is on Lazy Lane and not Parker Point. Number 9, a final subdivision bill of assurance shall be provided to and approved by the planning department prior to execution of the subdivision final plat. A copy of the recorded bill of assurance shall be returned to the planning department after recordation. And number 10, approval of this preliminary plat and development plan is valid until July 14, 2024. And prior to this date, the developer may request in writing an extension of up to 1 year. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Director. Will the applicant please come forward, state your name and address?
Could I mention one thing too? We do have in front of each commissioner a letter from the Crawford law firm, which is an objection to the project and listing 9 reasons for that, and stating that infrastructure is insufficient in the area, And also, you have some pictures that were provided by one of the speakers, and I'm sure they will identify themselves when it comes to that time. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Randy Whitehead, and my address is 114 Sandal Court here in Hot Springs.
Okay, is there anything that you would like to add to the record? And you have 5 minutes for your presentation.
I do not. I was just made aware recently about the objection, so I'm not really sure. I don't know if I have a chance to speak after they do, or I mean, I read it briefly, but I thought we'd kind of touch base on everything that was required of us with the city. I'm sure not wanting to do anything to cause any problems with the community, but I'm trying to simply subdivide 4 lots to build 4 residential homes on, and that's it. Pretty simple deal. And whatever hoops we need to jump through, I'm more than willing to do. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell for me.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I do have a list of those that want to speak on the application, and I will call you in the order that you signed up. However, there's some that I'm not going to be great on pronouncing the names, and I apologize in advance on that. But again, please address your comments to the commissioners, not to the audience. Members of the commission will ask questions and take actions afterwards. Will we have Michael Crawford? Yes. Will you please come forward, state your name and address?
I will, ma'am.
And you have 3 minutes for your presentation, sir. Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Michael Crawford, and I live at 144 Lazy Lane, which is adjacent to the property to be developed, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I appreciate each of you doing what you do, because I know it's hard work. I'm an attorney, been an attorney for 40 years, and I've been here several times for and against my clients. This time I'm speaking on behalf of myself. And my property is adjacent to the property that would be developed. And so I feel like I have a little bit of a unique opportunity to speak to that situation. And I've lived there 25 years. Our property has developed, and there have been some added subdivisions in the area. And at this point, the roads, the sewer system, and the water system is taxed to the limit. And to be honest with you, the road system is not adequate, and it's certainly dangerous. And there's an intersection at the bottom of this hill that's proposed to be the thoroughway for this subdivision that will be, unless it's changed, going to result in a death at some point. And this has been called to the attention of the county, and I'm not criticizing our county judge. He is not the person we called it to. But the bottom line is that when we add 40 more cars, and that's an average of 3 or 4 cars, 5 houses, plus visitors, to travel out on this roadway that's not even wide enough to comply with county requirements, then we're going to have a problem. So I asked the commission to put this on hold and send it back and have some more consideration of the roads, the sewer, the water, and the ability to get fire trucks in there, because I don't think that they can get in there. I know that they promised to put a fire plug, but I don't think a fire truck can get there. So here's the problem. First of all, and the only thing the secretary didn't mention, is that they are under a non-compliance agreement, and they are in a restraining order for failure to even get a wastewater permit to change the environment with adequate environmental protections.
Sir, I'm sorry, before you go on, do you mean the developer?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, and I should say that, and I appreciate that. The developer failed to go down and get a permit, and the pictures I provided you show that he has literally devastated the forest that's on that point, and there's no water protection for the lake. And so just to give you an idea of giving this developer a permit to let him go further is going to really be interesting, because it's right on the lake. It's where the river hits the bank at our subdivision, and those pictures show that. And he's cut 40 big old growth trees already without applying for a permit, without putting adequate water safety runoff provisions. And so he's under a restraining order, and that's not in the report. It needs to be added to the report, because he shouldn't have done that. He started his business before he got his business in order. Second problem is that the road system there is not adequate for 2 people to walk. And so, I mean, to drive. And then there's an intersection that's dangerous. So ultimately, if I used 5 minutes,
You have 3 minutes, and yes, if you could wrap it up.
I will.
Please, thank you, sir.
I didn't think I'd gone 5 minutes. I'm watching. But anyway, the bottom line is that I don't think that this development is going to benefit our neighborhood. It's going to hurt and put people at risk on our roads. And unless we change the road system, and unless we get more water pumped to this it's a hilly area. It's on the lake. And unless we get some sort of sewer control, because the sewer's constantly broken because it was built before they added all the houses in that.
Mr. Crawford, you have surpassed your 3 minutes.
Then the bottom line is, Your Honor, sorry, that's my lawyer talking.
It's okay.
Madam Commissioner, is that I'm asking that this be rejected at this time.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mr. David Thornton, maybe? I do apologize if that is incorrect.
Well, we ran out of ink, I think, in the pen.
I must have. Again, state your
My
name and
name's David
address,
Thornton. I live
and you have
214
3 minutes for your presentation.
Pardon?
You have 3 minutes for your presentation.
Okay. I live at 217 Lazy Lane, and most everything I had to say was said by him. And have any of y'all been out there on our road? You have? Well, y'all know how bad it is. My wife and I, we almost get hit every day going out to Weston Road. Then Weston Road is another story. It's got curves and everything else in it that's too narrow. So anyway, I just want to tell y'all that I object to the construction of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mallow, I am so sorry. Please state your correct name for me and your questions directed to the commissioners, not the audience. And you have 3 minutes, sir, for your presentation.
You got it right.
Oh, thank you.
It's Thomas Mallow. I live at 140 Lazy Lane, and I came here to voice my opposition to the plan for the addition to the subdivision of Hamilton Heights. I think Mr. Crawford went through most of the objections that I would have. I agree that the water system probably won't support it, that the roads are hazardous as they are, and I just hope you take that into consideration and have somebody else look at this and maybe think twice about whether that's viable or not. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have Randy Gilmill. That's close. Thank you, sir.
My wife Margaret and I are here to object to the plat as it is currently drawn.
Make sure you state your address.
I'm sorry?
Your address, sir, please.
Oh, 213 Parker Point. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
We live on the true Parker Point Road. There needs to be no mention in this plat of Parker Point because Parker Point Lane will not accommodate any more traffic. It's a single lane. When there are two vehicles, somebody has to stop. And so my specific objection to the plat is the access easement that's shown on the southern end of it. It's an access easement to nowhere, but it could hook to Parker Point at some point. And what is the purpose of it? Why is there a 20-foot access easement if there's going to be a 50-foot paved road coming into the subdivision? Is it because they're going to bring concrete trucks and materials down Parker Point and come in that access easement? That will really be a problem for the people that live on Parker Point. And so I hope that y'all will follow up and have a new plat submitted that removes any language about Parker Point, because Parker Point is a road. It's not a Parker Point, it's a road. And this would indicate that at some point there might be some development, and if he had another easement, he could get into Parker Point Road. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Kevin and Carol Fitzgerald.
I don't have anything to add to what's been said.
Thank you very much. And next on our list is Chester Ingersoll.
You got it.
It's my win for the day, sir.
I'm Chester Ingersoll. This is my wife Myrna. We live at 115 Parker Point. After listening to your description of the project, it looks like we've got all our P's and Q's for the project. The problem is collateral damage. Parker Point, as everybody mentioned, there's places on there where it's only 13 to 14 feet wide. They cannot handle any more traffic. Today, I saw 2 large trucks that got up Parker Point and up to Lazy Lane and had to back all the way back to Weston Road because there was no way to turn around, and it's not big enough to do anything. The other thing is water management. I worked for 5 years in Guyana, South America, in the northern edge of the Brazilian rainforest. We were digging in a mining pit 200 feet deep, a quarter mile from a river where you got 100 inches of rain a year. Water management will make or break any project you do. The water management down Parker Point right now is pitiful. Right across from my house, there's another vertical hill just like this one they're going to build on, and it's vegetated. So the vegetation stops some of the rainwater, but when it rains heavily, that water comes down that hill, across Parker Point, because the little ditches down the side will not carry that rainfall. Runs across Parker Point, over the next hill, and there's an access road that supplies my house and the Fitzgerald's house. It runs across that gravel access road and ends up in my driveway up against my garage door. So it's a nice project, but you can't get that project unless you do some work around it. You got to manage the water, and we've got to do something with that road because it's just not going to, it's not sufficient to handle the traffic. It's overloaded already, as everybody's already mentioned, but it needs to go back to engineering and not the project itself. Sounds like we've done a good engineering job on the project. It's the collateral damage for this thing. That's all. Thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Those who have signed up to speak have done so. The public hearing of this portion is now closed. Commissioners, we may discuss and take action.
Well, my initial concern is the clearing that's already been done. You know, I hate that this beautiful piece of property has been scraped like that and not be able to come to completion, but I understand everyone's concerned about the roads. I would suggest that we table this until we can get more information on it from the county and from the city and have them relook at it.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Second the motion.
Hillary, do you have any? You were
Well,
gonna.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
There's nothing more I can say.
Okay.
Well,
You need to,
You restate the motion?
excuse me, is it appropriate to have some discussion about the motion?
yes, there is, and it'd also be appropriate to find a date certain
Yes.
so that this doesn't all have to be advertised again.
Okay. I would make a motion to table it to the August meeting.
Okay. We have a motion
That's second.
and a second.
Any discussion on that?
I think there should be some discussion again on specifically, is there need to be on what additional information we would like to have at that time, or is that something we should discuss with the planning department later? Do you feel like you have a good handle on that?
Well, let me say this. The Garland County agencies responsible for stormwater, floodplain, emergency management, the fire folks, engineering, and so forth, all have reviewed this. And this project would be required to conform to all regulations that are in place. This is a subdivision, and we're unable to create standards that don't exist in the code. This project has been found by those agencies that regulate this to be compliant if they follow this plan. If they're under a restraining order, as someone mentioned, then
Then they wouldn't be able to get a
they
permit.
can't proceed until they remedy whatever the problem is. But
Okay.
in any case, you do have a motion on the floor.
And, you know, and I'm concerned about, you know, we've heard testimony on the width of the roads and the traffic problems. You know, who's going to take care of that? Who's going to widen those roads to get the subdivision?
That's exactly my concern, is that are those roads not in the subdivision itself, but around it? If they're not up to standards or code, then of course you're gonna have a bad situation worse. But I agree, your question, who's gonna take care of that
Okay,
if that's
if we're gonna
addressed?
talk about this, my question is, in 25 years, what has Mr. Crawford done about these terrible roads? He's lived there
That's a good
25
question.
years, and the roads have been awful. They're too narrow, they run into each other, they don't run into each other, but they almost run into each other. What has the neighborhood done in the past 25 years to remedy this situation? Are any of these streets state highways? I don't think so, unless
I
Weston.
don't
maybe, but-
believe so.
No.
So
No.
have they contacted the appropriate county road departments to fix the roads in the past 25 years?
Well, see, I think that all that's fair game for questions, but I think
But as far as
given the
fin-
motion on the table,
Yeah.
to put it to
know,
next
but
month, that we
everybody's
could
talking.
have some of these things get taken care of, hopefully,
Well,
or at
and-
least have a better idea.
And I agree, so let's go ahead. We do have a motion on the floor to table item number 2 to the August Planning Commission meeting with the staff findings and recommendations for approval. We're tabling that till August.
So you want me to do a roll call on the motion to
On-
table?
On the motion to table.
I do think it would be helpful, Madam Chairman, to delineate those items that additional information is required.
Okay, to add additional information.
But on what?
Well, I think we'll stick to what everybody mentioned, as is the roads and the wastewater.
Okay.
That was brought up in.
And I'm not advocating one way or another. I know you have the same information before you that I have. And the existing circumstances of the neighborhood are not required to be remedied. This project
Because it
has
doesn't fall within-
65 feet of frontage on Lazy Lane. And I mean, what you're saying is valid, except we can't require it to be fixed. So, you know, keep in mind, again, this is a subdivision. You have very little discretion. So
Well,
determine what it is you want more information
Well-
on, and we'll get it for you.
I'd like a solution to the restraining order before we make any decisions. What happens with that?
Unfortunately, but there's nothing that we could do with or without that information. Because we're not, the applicant not necessarily up here, we're talking about that parcel of land.
If the applicant proceeded without a permit, it's very likely that enforcement action occurred. That would happen from the county, from Garland County. Probably stormwater.
I'd like to call for a vote on my motion, please.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I may be wrong on point of procedure as far as the call for a vote. I don't know that that's been a motion or seconded, but in point of clarification to the planning director, at some point, if you're going to give us some information, I would like some information to clarify again. I understand what you said about this property, but if it exacerbates other things around it, I mean, it seems like common sense would say we would look at any development and understand that you have to have utilities and things that feed in and out of that ingress and egress. So
Right.
again, you can clarify that and the other things. I think the other thing that I would ask you to clarify, there was something in the packet that referenced this had been in action for some years ago for annexation, and the city
That-
declined doing that.
that has-
Is that anything that's relevant? If not?
Not relevant.
Okay, thank you.
Not relevant.
It's in the 1 mile ETJ now, so that's why
Right.
it's for us.
Commissioner Raymond, I know you asked for the vote, and I respect that. I apologize. Just one more comment maybe, is that it sounded to me like there might have not been any communication between the applicant and folks in the neighborhood, and maybe there's some ground to be gained in that kind of conversation as well. I mean, as far as the applicant goes, you've heard the kind of objections that are here. If there's, anything that you can do to provide assurances or additional planning around the development that would address some of these concerns, maybe putting it off till August will give an opportunity for some of those discussions to occur. I don't know if that's going to be reasonable or, but that's what I would try to do. So.
Good point.
Madam Chairman, can the audience speak to the motion?
No.
No.
I wouldn't.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and proceed. We do have a motion on the floor to table the approval of the staff report and findings and recommendations to the August Planning Commission meeting. Don Sweet Dobbs, will you please call the roll?
Greenway,
No.
Gerke,
No.
Stafford,
Yes.
Lamond,
Yes.
Walker,
No.
Ramick,
Yes.
Janet,
No.
Erickson,
No.
and Hobby.
No.
Okay, the motion to table has failed. You have a motion on the floor for approval.
Now we have a motion on the approval of item number 2 with the staff findings and recommendation is to approve. Ms. Dawn Sweet Dobbs, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Lamond,
Nay.
Walker,
Approved with staff finding.
Stafford,
Approve because it meets the rules, but I'm hoping that the applicant and the folks in the neighborhood will have an opportunity to get together to address this.
Gerke,
Approve with staff findings.
Greenway,
Approve.
Ramick,
No.
Janet,
Yes, approved.
Erickson,
Approve.
and Hobby.
Approve, thank you.
Okay, the motion to approve has passed with staff findings and recommendations. All of the conditions will apply to this preliminary plat. And Planning Commission's decision is final unless appealed to the board within 30 days.
Thank you, Director Selman. Would you now please present the staff report on item number 3?
Thank you. Item number 3, the applicant is Mr. Richard Larry Otwell. He's requesting C4 Regional Commercial Open Display District zoning for approximately 2.8 acres of land located at approximately 1750 Albert Pike Road. The subject property is currently zoned C2, General Business District. It has a future land use classification of linear commercial corridor and is located in Board of Directors District Number 3.
Will the applicant now come forward and state your name and address?
Madam Chairman, would you
Oh,
like
yes,
a
I'm
motion
sorry.
for
Yes.
approval
Yes.
with staff findings and
Thank you so
recommendation?
much. May I have a motion for approval of item number 3, approving it? Just
So-
gets,
So moved?
and a sec, thank you. Director Selman, now will you present your report
Yes,
and
thank you.
recommendations?
And if I may clarify, the motion to approve was with staff findings or recommendations? Okay, thank you. The application states the sales of portable buildings and/or other C4 permitted uses. This came from our applicant. The subject property is about 2.8 acres. It is not platted, has 115 feet of frontage on Albert Pike Road, and approximately 400 feet of frontage on Masters Place, and 200 feet of frontage on Vassar Alley. The surrounding property zoning on the north and east is general business district. On the north, there is also some R3, low-density residential. And on the south and west, we have C4 zoning, as is requested by the applicant. In addition, on the south, there is some C4, general business. Surrounding land use on the north is Rector Heights Baptist Church and undeveloped land. To the east is USA Car Wash and Master Tech. On the south, Arkansas Highway 70B, also known as Albert Pike Road, Quick Car Lube and Tune, One Refuge Indoor Bow Range, and the U.S. Postal Service. On the west is Chapman Automotive and Rogers Cycle and Marine. The Planning Commission must make one of the required findings from Hot Springs Code, and the proposed zoning request states that the proposal demonstrates compatibility with surrounding development or zoning. The applicant states with C4 zones around this property, it would be easier for the owner to lease this property to benefit the city if it were zoned C4. So the subject is adjacent to C4 zoning and would appear to demonstrate compatibility. Fulfills a demonstrated public need for land so zoned. It would be difficult to find that this demonstrates a public need for C4 land because C4 land is all over the place in that area. However, the request for C4 zoning is compatible with surrounding uses and zoning, and which would enable Planning Commission to make a finding as required by Hot Springs Code. If the change to C4 is approved, the full range of C4 uses would be possible. The finding is that the applicant has successfully demonstrated that the standards for favorable consideration have been met. Planning Commission will be able to establish a basis for the recommendation to the board that the proposed change demonstrates compatibility with surrounding development and zoning. With the current future land use map designation of linear commercial corridor, the subject property already has a consistent land use designation and would be consistent with the majority of the surrounding C4 regional commercial open display district zone properties and future land use designation. The recommendation is that the Planning Commission recommend to the Board of Directors that they adopt an ordinance amending the zoning map by designating the subject property C4 regional commercial open display district, because you have made the finding that the change demonstrates compatibility with surrounding development and zoning, and that the change implements the future land use plan map per Hot Springs Code 16-11E. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Director. Will the applicant, you're right there. Please state your name and address, and if there's anything you'd like to add to the record, you have a maximum of 5 minutes for your presentation.
I don't think it will take that long. My name is Richard Larry Otwell, and I live at 788 Springwood Road, Hot Springs, Arkansas. And Mrs. Selman has pretty well said what I would say, that it's surrounded by C4s, and it would give me a little more flexibility in that piece of property. It's sat vacant since I was going to build my State Farm office there in 2004, and I got a lot of flack from all my company people because I never did build my office, because there was always something coming up, you know, that prevented me from doing that. But so That's all I got.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? Did I answer questions?
So
Why
you're
did
planning
you-
on leasing the property?
There's a possibility of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a gentleman want to do that, and I always thought it was a C4 anyway when I purchased the property, because they had done some planning on it and they had drawn off all of these storage buildings, but only to find out it was a C2, not a C4.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the map on page 105 in the packet, there's a little piece of property. It looks like there's an easement that goes across your property line. Is that an easement to, or a driveway?
There
To
is
this
a,
location?
the way that property lies, it is, no, it's not Vassar, it's the other side. That property is actually on the left side of the street as you go down. So I guess the easement is the street going back in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not as big as it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I'm glad you asked that question. I usually get a question like, why is my insurance rate so high?
Thank you very much. Has anybody signed up to speak on this item? At this time, the public portion of this is now closed. Planning commissioners, do you have any questions, comments that you would like to ask or talk about?
It's a
Do not.
commercial area. If it's going to be used for anything, commercials with bids.
I agree. So just to clarify, I have a motion to approve item number 3 with staff findings and recommendation is to approve. Ms. Dawn Sweet Dobbs, will you please call the roll?
Walker,
Approve.
Greenway,
Approve.
Erickson,
Approve.
Janet,
Approved.
Gerke,
Approve.
Ramick,
Approve.
Stafford,
Approve.
Lamont,
Approve.
and Hobby.
Approved, thank you.
Okay, the motion to approve has passed, and this item will be heard by the Board of Directors on August 16th? No. 2nd, what is the date today?
Today's the 12th.
Today's 14th.
14th.
14th, okay, August 2nd. It'll be August 2nd in this room, 6 o'clock. So you'll need to be here one more time. All right.
Thank you. Director Selman, will you introduce and present the staff report on item number 4, please?
Item number 4. This is annual election of Planning Commission officers. All right. Would you like me to do this item?
Yes.
Okay, all right. We have 2 officers to select. One is the chair, second is the vice chair. The vice chair, as you know, takes over in the absence of the chair. First, then, do I have a nomination for chairman?
Yes.
I have one.
I'd like to nominate Carrie for another year of being chairman. She's done a good job, and I think that we'd like to have her again. So that's
Okay.
my nomination.
Is there another?
No, I agree with that one.
Okay,
gosh.
well, okay,
You guys
shall
just
I?
like to see me sweat, don't you?
Shall I close the nominations then?
Yes.
Please.
We have 1, all right. And for vice chair,
I think Rick has done a good job. Let's keep him too. They're a pair.
Yeah, I make a nomination for Mr. Commissioner Ramick.
okay. Do we have any other nominations?
I mean, I'd love to have Lori, but I don't know her schedule and how it would work out. Either one would be absolutely wonderful. Anybody would be.
I was gonna say, would LaDante like to preside over another board?
You can nominate me, but I'm voting for Rick.
Okay. Then I think we have our choice.
Okay, so
There you go. Go with Rick.
do I have 1 nominee, is that right, for each of these offices?
It'd be
Okay.
hard to decide.
Well then, yes, think about those choices, and why don't we first do the chair? All those in favor, I think we can do this by voice. Cabby,
Oh, yeah.
Carrie
I've had that trouble all day
Hobby.
long, so go for it.
Carrie Hobby as chair for another 12 months.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Those opposed? Carrie?
No, I
No.
don't.
Okay. It is unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Vice Chair Rick Ramick, by voice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, all right. So,
Same
12 more months.
Same page.
Yeah, same pay.
Yes.
Oh, you get a 20% raise.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the director's report.
100% raise, just, yeah, times zero, it's the same.
Okay, the director's report is short. On Tuesday, we expect that the board will approve the contract with Camiros Limited to start working with us on the new development plan. Now, new development plans start thinking about things, and I think tonight is a splendid example
Yes.
of things you might want in the code that aren't there. So use that as your jumping off point when you're thinking about things in the code. What things have thwarted you in the past? And how might we get some clearer, better standards that will help us move in the direction that the comprehensive plan has defined for us?
Can we keep things from going to the board?
Well, yes.
Really?
I mean, there are procedural things
Okay.
that you can be thinking about.
So.
So,
Your work session for this?
oh, there will be more work session
Yeah.
than you can even think about. Additionally, there will be a couple of committees working on this. There will be kind of a general public user committee, and we'll try to get both some of the usual suspects as well as some folks that have been underrepresented in the past, so we'll try to get a good mix there. And there will also be a kind of a internal regulatory group. We have invited Judge Mahoney to be a part of that. I think it's
that's a
really
great addition.
important that we coordinate this with Garland County.
Yes, no.
So he was the first call I made, and he has consented that he will try to do his best to participate in this.
Good for you.
So,
Is staff able to make recommendations
Yeah.
for our consideration?
Oh, yeah.
Because y'all know where the bodies are buried. I mean, we,
there's some bodies.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I have an idea
Yeah.
for something I think might be really hard to codify, and I'm not sure if you could do it. But an example is this evening, and that is
Yeah. I wrote
I wrote
communication.
that down.
Is that these people are not communicating with who they're going to impact.
Right.
And if they did, there might have been one person out here instead of a room full.
Right.
They would
So-
have had a representative, essentially.
So I'm not sure how you codify that.
I don't either.
But there needs to be something that requires the applicants.
And many communities do require that.
Well, then
Yeah.
It's a part of the procedure before you get to a hearing, is that you demonstrate that you have done outreach and that you've had a meaningful give and take with those who will be affected by your project.
Because there's a lot of things that have come to our tables.
These are not facts.
No, they are not facts.
Now, what got me on that is inadequate is not quantifiable.
Exactly.
And you have the staff who quantifies everything for you, and that's going to rule the day.
And let's not talk about tonight.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
not
it's
talk
good-
about this,
Oh,
because
okay.
We'll be here forever.
come back.
I'm running away.
Cone of silence. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chairman. Yes. Keeping us in order there. But, yeah, so be thinking about those things. But as I said, I think tonight was a good example of some kinds of things that we can be thinking about. Because that could have been a different experience. Exactly.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yes, I have a motion to adjourn in a second. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Try to.
Absolutely.
Vote aye.
Hasn't done yet.
Don't even have to vote.